Hello class. Today we are going to start a lesson called Crazy Hats. So for this lesson, we are going to be coming up with a unique and crazy hat. So be thinking about that, right, as we're doing the beginning of the lesson. We're also going to be talking a little bit about portraiture and facial proportion, which is the size of the objects in relation to each other and where they're placed. Okay, so we are going to start out with a piece of, I'm just going to use this one right here, a piece of 12 by 8 inch paper. It's a little taller than normal, but that's okay because we need room for our crazy hat. Now, we are going to start out by folding the paper in half from the bottom to the top. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to fold this in half, match up the corners, right? Give it a nice little crease, and then open it back up. That shows us where the middle of the paper is. Okay. Once we have found the middle of the paper, we are going to come in from the side, make a little mark, about the same on the other side, make a little mark. And on the bottom, this is kind of an estimate, but I'm going to estimate about 1/3, right, from this halfway mark to the bottom. So it comes in a little more than these two. Now I'm going to draw a curve, right? The curve is going to be the face. I'm going to turn my paper because my hand naturally curves this way more easily. If you're a lefty, probably the other way. So I'm going to draw this lightly, kind of try to make a nice smooth curve. And now I'm going to turn my paper because, again, right, my hand goes this way. I'm going to make a nice smooth curve. I'm going to try not to keep it very pointy at the bottom. I can tell it's a little, a little off. Not that big a deal, but I do want it to be as symmetrical as I can get it because it is supposed to be a face. That should be good enough, right? So we don't want it to be a point and we don't want it to look like a potato, right? And that's why we draw lightly so that we can make adjustments to what we're doing. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, right, is we are going to use this halfway point. Are we? No, we're not. We're gonna drop down slightly from the halfway point and we are going to make a very light line. Very lightly, because we're going to erase that later. And then we're going to make another line that kind of comes straight down from here, right? So for this is going to be what we call our eye line, okay? And we are going to make a little mark right here and a little mark right there. It's about halfway, right? You're kind of dividing this space in half. And we are going to come down this way. We're going to divide this approximately in half. And then this one, instead of dividing this area in half, we're going to find the halfway point and we're going to come up just a little bit and make another mark, right? So we have eyes, bottom of the nose, and mouth. So now, okay, we're going to draw. And again, like I tell you guys all the time, this is not the right way to make a face. It's just one way to make a face, right? So if you're here with me, why not try it a different way than you're used to? Give it a try. Doesn't mean you need to do it, I don't like that. Doesn't mean that you need to draw it this way for the rest of your life, right? I'm gonna make that a little larger. I would like the eyes to be as close to the same size, right, as I can get them. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to draw another little circle in here, right? Pupil. The colored part is called the iris. So once you have, right, your circle, that's the outside of the iris, you have your pupil. We're not going to color it in with pencil because we're going to color it in later with something else. We are going to create a curved line right on top. It has to at least touch the top of the iris. To be honest, most of our eyelids slightly cover the top. So if you were to make your curve and it kind of cut the top off of that, that would actually be okay. Right, and we can just erase that. And you can, again, you can make adjustments after you get the lines drawn. If you see, oh, well, that doesn't look quite like I would like it to, you can always make adjustments. Okay, here we go. So now I'm gonna come back this way. I'm gonna touch this part right here, but I'm not gonna connect it right away. I'm gonna touch this part and come over here. Because on the insides of our eyes, I don't know what you call them, but it's kind of like where your little tear ducts are. There's almost like a little curvy spot. You can choose to do that or not. And then right above the eye, sometimes if you put a little line right there, that looks like your eyelid. Just like that, okay? Now, for the nose, there are lots of ways to make noses. This is just one way. I'm gonna kind of darken that little curve on the bottom of the circle and erase that part. Okay, so now I have a little curve right here. And again, if it was a self-portrait, having a mirror would be very handy. Okay, so now you have this kind of shape right here, right? You got a little curve on the outside of your nose. And noses can be challenging because really the only edges you see are kind of down at the bottom. The one when you see the bridge, I guess, of the nose up here, it's really just shadows. So if you want to, you could, put a line on there somewhere. And then usually if you run your finger right up your nose, not up your nose, really, it kind of shows you where the eyebrows will go, kind of up a little higher above. And I like to do my eyebrows, right, by using lines to represent the hair in your eyebrows. That's texture. And your eyebrows, oh, well, my eyebrows do not match, do they? Your eyebrows are wider, right, closer into the middle of your face, and they get thinner as they get out to the outside edge. Okay, so now we have our eyes, we have our nose, here's the mouth. Okay, now this is something that you'd just trust me, just go with me on this one. Your mouth, the corners of your mouth, and you can check this out in a mirror later, are as wide as the distance between the pupils of your eyes. I know it looks crazy. So if I kind of lightly drop down, right there, from the pupil, and I kind of make a little dot kind of lined up with this mark right here, that is technically, how wide your mouth would be. Now, of course, everybody's features are unique and different. Some people's mouths are smaller, some might be larger, but this is in general kind of how it goes. So here we go. I am going to make a little curve right here. I'm going to draw the line in between the lips first. I find that's easier for me. And then I am going to kind of attach that line right here, boop, to those dots. Right? I kind of try to make just a little curve because, I don't want to look unhappy. All right, now here's a trick, something to think about. Everybody's got a little dip above their lip, right? Some of them are larger, some of them are smaller, some lips are thin, some lips are full, so many different lips. Okay, but the important thing to remember, we're gonna start out here at the corner. We're gonna come in a little bit before we make that line that's gonna connect to the dip, okay? We're gonna come in on that line a little bit before we connect to the dip, right? Those are like the little corners, the little bits in the sides there. Same on the bottom. Figure out how full you want that lip to be. Come in a little bit, right? And down. Come in and down, okay? So there you have it. And you can always readjust your lines. Lovely. Okay, now I'm just going to tell you this. Normally in class, I would say put your finger next to your eye and drag it across your face, and it will run into your ear where it connects to your head. And then if you follow your ear, it kind of goes up and comes back down and connects back to your head somewhere right in here. So we know, right? We know where the ear starts, we know where the ear ends. And I always tell my students, I say, please do not cut a potato in half and stick, you know, each side on the side of your head. We're gonna go up and down and attach, more like a potato chip, right? Because you're looking at it from the front. You don't see as much ear. Boop. Okay. All right, we're almost ready for the next part. We're gonna save the hair for last, right? We're gonna draw the hair after we draw the hat, so just be patient on that one. Okay, so the neck. If you put your finger on the side of your neck and run it up, 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 it's gonna run right into where your ear connects to your head. But we don't wanna draw the line right from there, because then it will look like our head is sitting on a tree trunk, and we don't want that. So I have been kind of going with the corner of the eye, just in general, right? If I go from the corner of the eye straight down, I'm gonna move that one over a little bit. Then we can go from the ear, we go down the face and straight down like that. Down the face, straight down like that, okay? And our necks aren't super long, so don't just draw it off the edge of the paper. A lot of times I notice that my students wanna make necks that look like little flower stalks, right? But our heads need support, so we need to have a neck that's gonna support that head. And then the last part for today is the shoulders. Again, I see a lot of shoulders that look like that. And you may be surprised, look in the mirror when you get an opportunity, that whatever width your head is, your shoulders are that wide. No lie, okay? So when you draw these shoulders, they're just gonna go right off the page. Skadoosh, just like that, okay? Maybe round that a little bit, I don't know, but and then figure out what kind of neckline. What kind of neckline do you want? Are you wearing a tank top, right? Or do you have a collared shirt on, right? With a collar, like a t-shirt or something like that. You need to figure out, make sure that you round it because your neck is round. If you are gonna be wearing jewelry, like a necklace, make sure the necklace also curves, right? Whatever it is you're gonna add on there, just make sure that there's a curve to it. And I will check, you know, I'll check your stuff before we get to the Sharpie stage, just to make sure that everybody has their lines in the right places. So that is today. That's all we're doing today. We're just getting this part done. And then your job between now and the next time we meet is to think about the craziest hat you can imagine. Something that would never, ever be found on a hat. Something that might be physically impossible to be a hat, okay? All right, I will see you then.